Hello, hello, hello to all my listeners from Spirit Chat. And I have a very awesome, should I say, wonderful human in front of me right now. I can't wait to introduce you. His name is Ray. And I just went, hold on, I just wanted to grab something here because I wanted to read it right off because I don't want to miss a beat. So just a second here. We did have a little bit of sound problems, so I just wanted to backtrack. So we have Ray. Now, forgive me, Ray. How do I say your last name? Catania?
Catania, Catania.
Catania.
Yeah,
Catania. Is that Italian?
it is.
It is. That was a good guess. I must be psychic on that one. So I'm just going to read it right off here because I don't want to
Okay.
miss or mess anything up. So Ray is a metaphysical teacher, coach, and author who helps people achieve their full potential by combining scientific theories with his own life experiences, which I absolutely love. With profound insights and intuitive abilities, he is highly sought after in scientific spiritualism and practical metaphysics. Now, this part intrigued me. As an ordained minister and master certified life coach. Now, how do I pronounce this? Yusi Reiki?
Usui.
Yuzai?
Usui.
Yusui? Okay.
But
Forgive
yeah,
me on that. You see,
Usui.
Oops. Okay. I'm going to hand that one over to you. Reiki practitioner and meditation instructor. Ray guides individuals on transformative journeys. And he also is a published author as well. Awakening series and The Atheist and the Afterlife. Now that I have to get
Mhm.
my hands on that book. Okay, so now I'm just going to hand it over to Ray. We did discuss before coming on live a few things that I'm interested in that I think that my listeners would be interested in. But before we do begin this
Mhm.
conversation, Ray, can you just give me a little bit of a backup, a little bit how your life was before you dabbled into this whole spiritual realm?
Oh, sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much, Helen, for having me as a guest. I really
Oh, no,
appreciate
I'm
that.
honored
Thank
that you're on my on my platform. So thank you.
you. So yeah, I mean, the beginnings of my transition really started when I was very young, although I didn't see it or acknowledge it.
Hmm.
I came from a home that really wasn't a happy one growing up, so I kind of stayed to myself and wanted to stay away from a lot of the things that were happening, a lot of the anger, the trauma, the
Hmm.
drama, and whatnot. So I would isolate myself for hours at a time, and it was just me and my mind. And we didn't have any cell phones or computers yet or anything like that. So it was almost like doing multiple hours of meditation day after day after day after day because it's just me in a whether I'm in my bedroom or the basement or a closet or the backyard, it's just me and
Hmm.
nothing else. So it's me and my mind. And I started to be able to started to be able to see things that I think that we just take for granted. It's there, but we don't really acknowledge it. It's like if you stare at a wall long enough, 4, 5, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, you're going to begin to see the energy that makes up the wall. It's not a white wall anymore or a wooden wall. It becomes an energetic part of reality. And you can start to see that, you'll see the little lines and so I sort of developed like this bond, whether I wanted to or not. It was because I wanted to escape where I was. I hated where I was so much. I didn't want to be there. And I tried
Hmm.
to force my mind out of that reality. Um, so fast forward to 20 years old. This is when I have my NDE. And this is a result of I'm still living at home with my parents.
Hmm.
I'm on the second floor. That's my bedroom, and it's directly above the kitchen. And the kitchen, the stove runs on gas, natural gas, which rises, and there was a leak. So the gas was rising into my room as I was sleeping all night long. We don't know really for how long, but I'm inhaling it while I'm asleep. Now in the morning, my mother gets up, I guess, to make breakfast or whatever. She goes to turn the stove on, and poof, it's like a big ball of flames, and the wall catches on fire. She came out of it okay. My father put
Wow.
it out with a fire extinguisher. It's not the fire or the smoke that got me though. It's the
It's the
gas.
gas.
The
Yep.
gas,
Hmm.
I was breathing it in. So I
Yep.
hear the fire trucks and the police, and I go to get up out of bed, and I find like I can't move my legs. They feel like 1,000 pounds each in my head. I can't get it off the pillow. It's like I'm almost parts of me is paralyzed. Um, but I know, obviously I know something's seriously wrong. Something's happening downstairs in my house. It's a big deal. That much I know. I got to get out of this bed. And I really struggle to do that. My arms are my best working items right now. So I'm pulling myself and trying to get myself to the edge of the bed, just pulling everything else
Mm-hmm.
with it. And eventually I get to the end and I tumble out and I hit myself like face first on the floor, which obviously made a big thump downstairs. And then everybody realized, Ray's up there,
Yep.
and yeah. But here's the thing. So my face hits the floor and I hit right here, chin first, still have the scar. And I, I'll never forget this. So I hit the floor, and I know I hit it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel that I hit it, but there's absolutely no pain. That's the strange part. No pain. So, and that's because I'm not in that body in that moment. It was like this just before I hit or as I hit, I'm out. And I'm looking down at my lifeless body on the floor, face down. And I'm in the corner. The room is a perfect square, this particular room. I think it was like 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 or something like that. And I'm in this corner and I'm looking down at where I fell out of the bed. And this doesn't scare me at all. In fact, it feels amazing to say the least. And adjacent to me in the opposite corner is a huge cone shaped white light that's just on my energetic self, not my dead self, but me, like
Mm-hmm.
the energetic me. And this light is like I don't really have words to describe the light except it was like love, painlessness, euphoria, happiness, just everything that you could possibly, every positive emotion that you could feel all at once. And I was like a part of the light. It wasn't like I was separate from, I started to become one with the light.
Oh, how
And it
magical
felt
that must have been.
amazing.
Wow.
And so, and then there was a being at the end of the light, and I don't know who this was, or I couldn't see any silhouettes or anything, just energy at the end of the light that said, and I'm saying said, but because I don't have another term for the transmission of information, um, that said it's okay to enter the light, Ray. It knew my name. It's like, Ray, come on, you can come into the light. It's
Mm-hmm.
safe to come into the light,
Did you
right?
did you receive it telepathically?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
not hearing
Yep.
anything. And I start to go in, and the more I go into this light, the more it increases, like the feeling, the beautiful, euphoric feeling. Um, and I want to go to the other side of this light. Like there's just no question in my mind. I'm there. I'm going. I'm coming. Whoever you are, and I don't trust
Mm-hmm.
anybody at this point in my life for obvious reasons, right? So for me to go towards anyone that says it's safe to come in is a big deal. And then my father comes in and he kicks the door open, and he finds my dead body on the floor and he scoops it up and he's screaming for the paramedics and he's crying. Um, and I look down at him like stunned, because I never really knew that my dad felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really didn't think I was that big of a deal to him.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I guess I felt like that was what was missing from my life, probably. And I wanted to go back because I wanted to experience that. So I asked if I could. And I don't know. I really don't know how I asked. And I don't remember it being granted. It was something like, I can't leave him like that. I made it about him. I was like negotiating or something. And it's just silly to think about it. But the bottom line was I was allowed to come back. And when I woke up, I was not in his arms and I wasn't on the second floor. I was on the first floor in the living room on my back, face up, and I see the paramedics working with all their stuff on top of me. And I wake up and I'm like, guys, get off me. Stop touching me. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm fine. I feel great. And they're like, son, you're not great. Just settle down. And I'm like, no, no, no. I feel amazing. Did you see the light? Did you hear the voice? Wasn't that awesome? And now they start looking at each other like I'm nuts, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to think I better shut up or I'm going to go to the wrong hospital, just like when I tried to explain the things I could see in the wall, I was nuts. And, everybody always told me I was crazy, crazy, crazy. So finally, I'm just like, I'm going to concede to not talk about this. And after the experience, I tried to even bring it up to my own mother, who went through a period of denial. And I guess I get that because, I have kids now. And if
Mm-hmm.
one of them died on my watch, I would probably have a very traumatic experience and
Yeah.
maybe to the
Mm-hmm.
point of denying it or not remembering it or whatever. And it wasn't until she read the book that we actually had a heart to heart about it. And she said, you must hate me. And I said, no, no. In fact, I understand you now. And I didn't understand a lot of things when I was a kid, but I get it now as a result of what transpired. And I said to her, well, she said, told me that I had actually died 3 times en route to the hospital, not just the one time in the house. I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
know that. Um, so she filled in some of the blanks that I couldn't even remember about the incident. But I think we're closer now and we have a better relationship today. My father's long passed, but we probably have a better relationship today than we ever had after she read the book. And so I'm going back to being 20 and having this experience, not having a computer where I could just type this in and look it up. I have nobody to talk to except my Christian Catholic family, and they don't believe that's
They
possible.
do not.
No, no. So I am just shut down completely and keeping this to myself. And so to conform, I kind of justify it away like this. I figure I fell when I came out of the bed, I fell in front of a window and the sun was probably shining and that was the white light. And I inhaled so much gas that I was hallucinating the voice and everything else. And that's the way I put it to rest for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have to deal with it. I didn't have to search for answers. I just put it there and I let it be. But from that day forward, I didn't fear death at all. So there was something in the back of my mind, even though consciously I was trying to cover it up, I knew what had happened had some reality to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too many feelings and too much to process for it not to have been real. But I tried to make it not real. I tried to hang on to that atheistic viewpoint because I was rebelling against my parents. They're religious. I'm going to be not religious in the most way possible. I'm going to be an atheist, I called myself. I don't even know what that was. I just didn't believe in anything, didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
believe in anything. And I go through the next several years of my life, putting myself in really bad situations, self sabotaging in every way you could think. And, I worked for some shady characters and there was this one time this being has shown up for me many times throughout my life. I mean, there was one time there was a shootout in a bar and I was working there and I was under the bar and I was kind of trying to hide out and figure out how I'm going to get out of the place. And I wrote about this in the first book. And the voice says side door, side door. Keep saying side door. I keep hearing
Mm-hmm.
side door. And I'm thinking I can't get to the side door. The shooter's going to see me. There's no way I can get all the way over there to that door. And but I have nothing to lose and I have nowhere else to go. So I go for it. And I go out the side door, which then I have to go down this big long like 40-foot corridor to get to the next side door, which takes me to the parking lot. And I did it, obviously I made it. And don't you know that I parked my car right outside that door for the first time ever? Like I always would have parked on the other side of the building. That was my spot. And I never parked on this side. But that day I did. And
Intuitively. You knew intuitively.
I guess,
On a
yeah,
soul level, on a soul
it's,
level, you knew.
yeah, on a soul level, on a
Mm-hmm.
level that I didn't even understand yet. And there's been other incidences where this being has saved my life, and even going back as far as 10 years old, I remember swimming out too far in the ocean, and there was an undertow, and the undertow kept pulling me back as I'm trying to swim forward, and I'm getting pulled back and pulled back. And there's like 10 kids on the other side and just me on this side. So the lifeguard's, he's trying to get the 10 out, not the one. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going down, and no one's really watching. My father's on shore. I don't know what the hell he's thinking about, but he's like a sink or swim guy anyway. Um, so I don't know what to do. My heart's pounding. I'm going under. I'm trying to wave. I'm going farther and farther out at sea. I don't know how I'm getting back. I don't think I'm getting back. I'm just ready to die. And here's the being, and this is what he says, or this is what I hear in the transmission. Um, Calm down, swim sideways, take all the time you need. Calm down, swim sideways, take all the time you need. So all of a sudden, this feeling of calmness just came over. My heart wasn't pounding. I was very relaxed, and I started to swim on an angle. And I didn't worry about how far out I was. I didn't pay any attention to how long I had to swim. I just put my head down and slowly did what he told me to do. And then I got to shore, and I was way down the other side of the beach. What I learned was later, in an undertow situation, if you are brought out, you're supposed to swim on an angle. I was 10 years old. I didn't know this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just another example. There's at least four or five of them in the first book, and four or five in the second book, of times when this being, the same one, I think, that was at the end of the light, has just been there for me. Um, and I kept rejecting him as, you're not real, but
Would
it
you
was very
would you
real.
sense that he would be like a spirit guide,
Yeah,
or would
yeah.
you sense that
Yeah,
back
today,
then you weren't sure if it was an angel or a spirit guide or a loved one even?
today I can tell you it was a spirit
Yeah.
guide. There's no question. Yeah,
Did you give him,
absolutely no
did it give
question.
you a name, or did you give
He
him a
did.
name?
He did one time. I've been asking for weeks, and I was about to fall asleep, and he gave me the name, and I didn't get up and write it down. And you know
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
that information is so
Yeah.
fragile. If
You're
you
trying to
don't,
grasp it.
yeah, if you don't
Yeah.
get it down right away, it's gone. And I said, I'll remember in the morning. And then I couldn't remember. And I was so upset with myself that I didn't write it down, because it was a very unorthodox name that you
Mm-hmm.
would
Mm-hmm.
not normally hear ever. So I don't know. And
Just
I'm,
you what they from what I've learned in the past is if you don't know their name, just give them a name.
That's
Because
interesting.
to them, names are not important. It's
Yeah,
the
a
frequency,
lot
it's
of
the
things. Yeah,
energy.
right.
So if you were to come up with a name that resonates, just go
He
by
doesn't
that.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say, well, I don't remember your name, or tap in again and try to find out what his name is. But
I've been trying for years. I think he's just messing with me at this point.
could be, could be. But you do sense that it's a male through, is it because of
No,
this?
I have no, I can't say it's a male or a
Yeah.
female. No, it just appears like almost like orbish,
Mm-hmm.
with just lines, no human shape at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Interesting.
lines of energy, and it's like kind of in a ball. And yeah, there's a
Well,
story about how I discover him, and it's called, you were here the whole time. And later on in life, when I start to realize that I have mediumistic abilities,
yeah.
and I realize, and I start to get taught, and I'll tell you that story. But you know how you have that movie screen? It's like a blank panoramic movie screen that you're looking at, but it's here, and in the lower right hand corner, like, everybody has their place, right? We see spirit. It's like grandma's always going to be there, and this one always going to be there, and that one's always going to be there. So when they present, I know, I
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking. I know.
Mm-hmm.
So in the lower right-hand corner were these squiggly lines. And I just thought nothing of it because I could see right through them. It was like, so I just thought it was like a little static or something going on. And one day I'm just praying to the universe and I'm just asking for assistance. And it was about releasing the first book. And should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Show me the path, show me the way. And I was in deep in meditation, and these squiggly lines throws a notebook at me and a pen, and it just goes past me. And I said, "Oh my God, you're him or her, or
Yeah.
for lack of a better, I don't have a term." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You were there the whole time. Like I didn't. That was his spot, and I didn't identify it, and I felt so bad." Um, like here's this entity that's saved my life so
Mm-hmm.
many times that I
Mm-hmm.
would have honored and respected and you know gave thanks, and he was right there. He's just in this lower
Mm-hmm.
portion of my movie screen, and I just it was a huge revelation for me. So anyway, going back to the story, after the NDE is when things really get crazy because now I'm a kid who can see energy, and I've crossed over and come back. So there's plenty of energetic beings that come along with me, and they're around me, and they're just there all the time. I don't see them in human form yet. I just know that they're there. I barely see them at all. In fact, I just see lines that, go across. I remember
Mm-hmm.
because I just got my first apartment. I moved out of that house. I got my first apartment. It's like my bachelor pad, right? So I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to have parties and everything, right? None of that happens. I move in, and the place is like, it feels like it's filled with people. And there's all this energy that's just, you could just feel it. It's heavy, it's dense. It's like you feel like people are looking at you. Like I thought there were cameras in the place. And and then all the electrical appliances did not work properly. They would go on, go off, not work. The alarm would go off. All these crazy things would happen. I would call the maintenance guy like every 5 minutes.
Lots of
He
frequencies.
right, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Kid, you're crazy. There's nothing wrong with your apartment. Don't call me again." There it is again. I'm crazy. Okay. So maybe I am crazy, I start to think. And so this is when I turn to alcohol and drugs because I can't sleep and I can't turn this off. I don't know what's happening. I don't understand it. I got nobody to go to. And anybody I've ever told tells me the same thing. You're crazy.
We know
So
you're not. We know you're not.
now today, thank God, but I wish there was had then that I could have talked to. And I tell people now, if you have these events, find a mentor, find somebody that you can ask because, I could have died. I did so much drugs and alcohol just to try to understand, just to try to turn that off. Then I moved into another apartment. I left that apartment at a 12-month lease, and I actually left the 10th month. I had enough. The next apartment I move into, I think I'm going to get a fresh start. It's the same thing all over again. So the house isn't haunted, Ray's haunted, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm starting to really think that I'm crazy. So I would say about 8, 9 years, maybe a whole decade goes by, and I get married and I have my first two children. And in that moment, um, I realized that I am responsible for their lives. And this changes everything about my lifestyle. So I check into rehab. I don't work for anybody who's shady anymore. I care about living. I don't want to die. And I go back and get my college degree. I'm like 30 years old. I'm getting my college degree. I get a good job in New York. I work my way up. I do well. I come back to New Jersey. I do the same thing. I work my way up, and I did well for myself and for them. My marriage fell apart in like the second or third year, but I had the kids, and they were my inspiration for turning everything around. And remember now, I've only seen energy. I've never seen anything more, right?
Mhm.
So years goes by before I want to get serious with another woman because I didn't want to bring her into their lives. I wanted to wait until they were older to understand. So I
Mhm.
waited a long time. And then I went online to like, because now that's how we do it, right? You go online, you find somebody. So I'm looking at these different websites and I come across one particular site that shows me 4 or 5 examples of women that are in my area that, hey, you might like, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And she's number 3. And I said, oh my God, that's her. And I'm just stunned. And I'm like, that's my wife. And I can't stop looking at her. I just can't. I feel like I've known this woman forever. So I joined the site and I send one email and I more or less just come out with it. And I don't know where I got the, you know what, to just say this, but it was like, hey, very nice to meet you. You're my wife. I know you don't know this yet and
You
you think
did
I'm
not.
crazy. Yeah.
Did you really? You're my
Yeah.
wife.
And by the way, my name's Ray. You'll understand all this later. And she thought it was hysterical. I wrote more than that. You know,
Yeah.
it was kind of funny. It's in the book actually. And she's like, LOL, you're out of your mind. Who are you? Where are you from? I need to know. You know, and we started talking and we are married and we live in this house and so on and so forth. Um, but when I meet her and we first start dating, things get crazy
Mhm.
again. Now they're not just energy. This is the first time I see energy in a human form. And this is after it was my birthday, the first birthday I had spent with her,
Mhm.
and we were starting to get serious. And she said, so tell me about your spiritual beliefs. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Here it comes.
Right. Well, I go, what are yours? And I was hoping that she would say like whatever, and I'll be like, yeah, that's me too, you
Mhm.
know. But she was too smart for that. So I really kind of expressed like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like it's all a big mishmash and I think I have to figure it out, but I really don't know. And she goes, you know what I think you need? And I said, no. Um, I'm gonna buy you a spiritual clearing for your birthday. And I'm like, a what?
As in
I
like
go,
teaching?
is that like a massage? And she goes, no. And I was like, okay. So I'm not thrilled. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have cake. She's like, yes, we'll have cake, but do you understand? I'm gonna get you a spiritual. I said, oh, okay, honey. All right. And I said, so where do I have to be? And she goes, you don't even have to be there. It's distance. She's gonna call you. She's gonna tell you when she's gonna do it. And then after it's over, she's gonna call you back and tell you everything and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't believe anything. Because I'm crazy. I just think I'm crazy. And so she calls and she explains what she's going to do. And I was very polite. And I was like, okay. She's like, so don't make any appointments today. Don't make any life changing decisions for probably the next 3 days. And I'm like, okay. But I did clear my calendar. I was like, okay, no, I won't do it. I'll listen. I'll play along.
Mhm.
And within 2 hours after, she called me back and she said she finished and told me all these things. You need to get back to astrology. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But then it did hit me. I do know what it means later, but we'll get into that later. And I was like, okay. And I ended the phone call. And I think it was 2 hours later, I get up out of my desk chair and I feel so wobbly, like my equilibrium is just off and everything's like, whoa, like what was that? It started to feel like I was back in the apartment with the energies that were all around me. Like I had kind of like, they left me alone because I couldn't help them and they knew I couldn't help them. I didn't have the ability to help them. So they kind of gave it a rest. Right. And now it's back and it's just the floodgates are open again. And I went home from work early. I said I had a headache and I went home early. I kind of did have a headache. And here's the first thing I see. Um, Closing my eyes, I'm laying down, and here comes my movie screen, and it opens up, and there's a man here, and he's just a little off to center, which is really powerful, right? The closer to center, the more powerful. He's just a little bit off. And he is saying to me, big guy, beard mustache, black hair. He says, I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot.
What?
I'm like, what was that? Right. And now I'm like really thinking, what is happening now? And I'm like, nothing. That was a dream. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Here he comes again. I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. I'm losing it. This is the only thing I can think of is like, I'm literally losing it. He comes back again and again and again and again. And he comes back more frequently. I left work on a Friday. By Saturday, he was there what felt like every hour on the hour. He just would not stop. He was so persistent. And by Sunday, I couldn't function. I couldn't drive. I couldn't carry a conversation with you because he would interrupt with that. And it was so forceful that I just thought, I'm really, this is it. This is the end of my life. Like I'm losing it. I'm schizophrenic and I have to start making arrangements for my kids. I can't function. And the breaking point was I was in a store and I was paying for my stuff. And here he is over and over and over. I don't know what I did. I really don't. But the lady behind the counter goes, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, "No, no, I'm not." Like I almost wanted to tell her everything, but I just took my credit card back and I went to the car and I started doing a checklist. My brother has my will. Make sure he has a DNR because I'm going back to the light. I do not want to be resuscitated. I don't want to be in a machine. I'm making sure my paperwork is in order because I literally think this is the end of my life and my kids have to be provided for. And now I have to tell this woman who is my soulmate, I think. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what a soulmate is yet. I just know that I love her and I have to be with her and I don't know why. But now I have to tell her that I see people that aren't there and I'm out of my mind and I'm sorry, but I just think you need to know. And if this isn't all crazy enough, she is a doctor of psychology and neuropsychology by trade. So I'm about to tell the woman I love, who's
Mhm.
a psychologist, I see people that aren't there. This is going to go over really well. Um, I expect that she's just going to give me a referral and say, call this guy, never call me again. Here you go. I mean, this is like a couple months of dating. That's all, that's all it
Mhm.
is. But this is the same woman that bought me a spiritual clearing. Okay. So
So
that's
she's
not what I
aware.
got.
She's aware.
Not what I got at all. In fact, she said, explain it to me. How do you see him? And I said, well, I get these vibrations first, and then, I see something shoot across, and then kind of feel like I get these little chills, and then movie screen opens up, and then he says, I told her everything, what he looks like, and she's like, oh my God, that sounds like my dad. And I'm like, your dad's dead. What are you talking about? And she's like, I know. And now I'm thinking she's crazy, and I need to get the hell out of here. You think I'm seeing dead people? And she's like, I think you're a psychic medium and you just don't know it. And I was like, what's a medium? And she goes, listen, relax, calm down. She goes, I've been to many mediums. My dad comes through. He's very powerful, just like you said. He
Hmm.
has a message all the time. He's close to center. He's very forceful. He was powerful in this life and he's powerful in the next. And I'm just like, my mouth is like, you know, I'm like, who is this woman? This is like my spirit guide on earth.
Hmm.
And she's like, why don't I take you to see a medium? There's one that's going to be in our area, very prominent, very well known.
Hmm.
And I will take you to her and you guys can just sit together and talk about it. And if you like what you hear, great. And if you don't, what do you got to lose? And I was like, really? Yeah, you're right. What have I got to lose? Let's go. So
Perfect.
she sets up an appointment for her and one for me, and we're there. And she says, would you like to go in first? And I said, oh, I have to go in first. Otherwise, when you're in there, I'm leaving. I'm petrified because insanity, I understand, right? Like
Yes.
I have a grasp on what that is. Mediumship, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And this is something I have rebelled against believing in my whole life. So I go in and I say, "Hi, I'm Ray." And she goes, "Oh, you're that Ray." Now I'm really scared, right? She's like, "Just have a seat and tell me what's happening." And I said, "Well, I'm crazy. I'm losing my mind. I see people, they're not real." And she's like, "Ha ha ha, ha. Me too." And she
Welcome to my
chuckled. Yeah.
world.
Yeah. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Just tell me how it happens." And I told her the story. I get the vibrations, I get the chills, I see the lines, I see the swirlies, blah, blah, blah. The movie screen opens up and she goes, "Stop." I said, "What?" She goes, "That's how I see it too.
Mhm.
That's how we all see it." Who's we all? And now I'm like, a huge sigh of relief. This is the first person who can relate to this crazy stuff that is happening to me. And I'm almost crying, and I'm laughing, and I'm just relieved. And
That
it's
you're
not
not
until,
crazy. That you
yep,
finally someone to say to you, you are not crazy.
"You're not crazy." And not only that, she said she was hospitalized forcefully by her parents when she was
Oh,
young.
I've heard lots of those stories.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, like that could happen to me."
Mhm.
If I would have kept talking and kept telling people what was happening, I would have been there too. And, we had this huge bonding moment. And she took me under her wing for the first year. And thank God, because she taught me like how to turn it on, how to turn it up. She goes, "How'd you feel after you delivered the message, by the way?" I said, he was gone, come to think of it." She's like, "That's all you had to do, was
Mm.
deliver the message." And I was like, "Ah, now I get it. But how did I know who it was for?" She goes, "Just we'll get to that." And I was like, "Okay, okay." I was like, "So what's the question you hate the most that you get?" And because I know the question that drives me crazy, right? And we both looked at each other and we said at the same time, "How do you know that?" And I was
Mhm.
like, "Don't you hate that question? I don't know
Yep.
how I know anything. It just comes to me." And she's like, "Yeah, me too." And we laughed. And so we had this great exchange in the moment. And it was awesome to walk out of there. I was like floating because I was a completely different person. I was changed forever. And that set me on the path of learning everything I could learn. I went back to college for metaphysics. I got a master's. I'm going for my PhD now.
Mhm.
And I started to study physics, real physics. And I found the connections between metaphysics and physics, and I started piecing the puzzle together. And in the second book, that's a lot of what I talk about, is how, it's not woo woo, it's real. And let me show you how,
It's
because I can
science.
actually
That's what
explain
I
it.
like to
It's
say.
science.
It's
Yeah.
science. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what my life's work is now. Is I did go to two, well, actually more than 2 years. I switched mentors because she was really not a teacher, but she just did that for me because
Yes.
she cared about me.
Mhm.
And then eventually I found my second mentor, who was really difficult to get with. And I finally did get into his 2 year program.
Mhm.
And I'm in like my fifth year of a 2 year program, which is like
Wow.
exactly how long it takes me to complete college. But also, I'm not leaving him for life. Like he's my guy. I
Mhm.
don't practice mediumship anymore. It's not my calling. I don't feel, and I explain that, but I still sit in on the classes, and I work with him because he's taught me so much about so many things.
You mind if I ask you who?
I His name is Joe Shield. And
Familiar.
I hope he's okay with me saying that. I imagine he would be. Um, and Yeah, he's just the most amazing man with the most integrity I have ever. I had to bust my butt and go through so many hoops to get into his program.
Mhm.
He had to be convinced you were legit. You could not pay your way in. You could not buy your way in. There was interview after interview and test after test. And now he has like beginner stuff, but this was for a mentorship. This was
Mhm.
like 24/7 access for 2 years. And I knew you were going to ask me that, by the way. I was debating before we got on. I was like, she's going to ask me who it is. And
Yeah, you must be
I,
psychic.
I hope, I know. I hope he,
He'll be fine. He'll
he
be fine.
appreciates that.
Yeah.
Um, So anyway, yeah, I'm still with him, but I explained to him that in the writing of the second book, really near the end, I had a spiritual awakening that was monumental for me
Mhm.
because it was when I lost some of the negative emotions that were driving my life, which was anger, violence, and things of that nature. And I had been working on it and working on it and doing everything that all the experts said, Eckhart Tolle and my mentor and everybody. And I was really working on destroying my ego to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
And one day, something happened where I normally would have flipped out and nothing happened. I was just calm. And it was like, as though that it never happened. I had a car accident and I was just like, I just cared. I hit a deer and I felt really bad for the deer. And it's not like me. I would have been, oh my God, my car, it's an expensive car, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's just a piece of tin.
Yeah.
And I got out and the deer got up and walked away, which was amazing because I hit this thing and I
Miracle.
wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
Miracle. Yeah. That moment was a legit miracle.
Mhm.
She was fine. I was fine. The car was trashed and I could care less.
That was
Talk
the
about
lesson. That was a gift you
that
just
was,
received that day. It was a gift.
that's right. That's right. And since that day, I don't, I can't, I find that this is my thing to bring to other people is that you can do this too. Like, I'm not special. I'm not chosen. I'm just a regular guy. That's it. There's nothing special about me. The things that I can do, anybody can do.
I say it
And
all the time.
you just have to want to do it. It
Mhm.
takes work. It takes work to reject all that crap you were taught and retrain it. I call it retraining the brain. It's actually the mind, but it didn't rhyme, so I went with brain. And it's you're just constantly telling your ego, that's not you. That when you think your ego is you, it's very depressing, right? Because your ego is like, oh, you don't look good in that, or you look silly, or you didn't call so and so. What are they going to think of you? And all this nonsense that's not me. That's like the things that my parents or grandparents or cousins or somebody I knew of authority, somebody that told me, it's all their insecurities piled on me and me thinking those are legit. I don't care. It doesn't really matter
Mhm.
what anyone thinks of me. What you think of me is none of my business.
Exactly.
I'm going to help the deer and
Mhm.
you do your thing. And if you think I'm nuts, okay, I'm okay with that. So that's what I think I'm meant to share with people now.
Mhm.
Sorry if that was like a really long story.
No, no. Do you find that we're also here to help remember who we are and assist those? Like, I'm that person where I like to have my clients get to the root of the situation themselves. I guide them, but it's like I want them to find the answer
Exactly.
within themselves.
Yes, because if they don't, they won't remember it.
They
And
won't remember.
no.
It's tapping into your own inner knowing and being, and then just trusting. That's my favorite word, is just trusting what you're receiving. And so I sense I feel that that's one of the things you're here to do, is to help people to remember
Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah.
And I feel that by sharing a lot of your stories, that you're going to draw in a lot of people that have gone through the same situation. It's helping those that thought they were crazy and, am I making this up? Is this a delusional world that I'm in and no one's going to accept me?
Hmm.
But thank you for coming out of that. But here's the thing, is you biting the bullet by saying to your wife, I'm going to marry you. And because of her, she opened up so many doors for you.
Yeah, she did indeed. And that was, and I knew that it was almost like, I didn't feel my guide telling me that, but it was almost like, this is what you
It,
must do. That's her.
yep.
Yeah. It was just that feeling that you get. And you know how you just spoke about that feeling, when you get it because it's very different than the other thoughts you have. It's a thought with a feeling. It's not just
The
a
feeling.
thought.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of, I find, that's why I said at the beginning when you and I were having our chat, is here to help people awaken.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong if you're not. It's just
Yes.
because we're not here to change anybody, but I just
Correct.
like to plant seeds. And hence, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on my show is to help me help others, you know, plant the seeds and spread the love, and knowing that everything comes more from the heart and there is absolutely nothing to fear.
There's nothing
Nothing to
like
fear.
nothing can ever really happen to you. Like we, other than like taking care of the people you love and taking care of people you don't even know, just being nice to others,
Humanity,
right? Other
humanity,
than that,
humanity. Yes.
don't worry if you don't pay your credit card. No one comes and shoots you.
Mm-mm.
No one puts a gun to your if you don't have a gun to your head, you don't have to do it. Just take care of people, be kind to people. And you know what? You'll never be in trouble. You won't have problems because somebody will help you the way you help them. Karmically, it's just how things work.
Yes.
So, life is so much simpler than we make it out to be. We make it into like this big, huge thing. Like, and when people say I can't get out of bed, and I'm like, I just, I can't wait to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
If I wake up early, I get up and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be on a podcast today, and then I'm going to write, and I'm going to write another book. I mean, it's just great. Every day is great.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. How many kids do you have?
So I have two biological, and she has
Okay.
two.
Okay.
Hers are young girls. Mine are in their 20s. They're boys. And I actually, funny, I'll tell you a quick story. Like, when I came home from that car accident, my son woke up the next morning before I did, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, "Dad, somebody stole your car. Somebody stole your car." And I said, "No, no, no, I had an accident." And I just, and he's like, "What? You had an accident? You didn't tell me, and you didn't call me, and blah blah, blah." And I was like, "No." He goes, "You're not mad?" And I said, "No, I didn't want you to react like this. That's why I didn't call you."
Exact. Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes, "Who are you? And what have you done with my dad?" And I said, "I'm really sorry because I didn't know this until I was 50. I would have shared this with you at a young
Yeah.
age. I'll fix you if I messed you up. I apologize. But now with the young ones, I've been here since they were 5. We raised them completely differently. They're open to
I
everything.
was going to
Like,
ask you that. Do you find that your biological kids are they just as gifted as yourself, or?
yes, they're showing, well, my eldest is showing signs for
Yeah.
certain.
Yeah.
It's definitely hereditary, no
Yeah.
question. Yeah. And I can have these conversations with him
And a male.
and a male.
Beautiful thing. You know.
Right? Isn't,
Oh,
when I found out it was like a 10 to
yeah.
1 ratio.
Well, huge. It's huge because, and I say that that's one of my messages that I put out to the universe is please bring me more men. We need more men to open up and believe and trust in the universe. I just find that it would be a more, I don't know, and I'm not judging, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. It's just,
No.
I just want to say, okay, we just need men to tap into more their right brain, just to be more psychic, tap into that as opposed to the left brain, right? And
Yeah.
so, again, I'm not judging, but I just would love for more men to wake up,
Me too.
right?
Me too. And and anybody can do it, like male or female, but it does come more naturally to females, I believe. I just think
Yes.
that they have a bit more evolved brain, and guys are going to hate me for saying that, but it's just a fact. Women can do things men can't do, like give life.
Well,
So,
we tap into, I feel that most women, and this is where our intuition does kick in, is it's all about feeling. Whereas men are brought up not to feel, not to cry, not show your emotions. So
perfect.
I'm like, no, please put your emotions, wear your emotions on your sleeve,
Yeah, that's it.
right? And if
Yeah.
anything, that's how you're going to get a woman.
If nothing else.
I'm so joking. But you have so much to share, and we've run out of time. Would you be interested to do another show with me later on, like down
Yeah.
the road?
Oh my
I would,
God.
I
Yes,
would love
absolutely.
to have you back because I'm looking at this list and I'm just like, yeah, we don't have time for that, but I want more of you. And
Absolutely.
I have a feeling that a lot of my listeners will want to know more. So when do you think, you said you're in the midst of writing your third book?
Yeah. So I'm writing 2 third books. I don't want to put a deadline on either of them
Yeah.
just yet.
Good, good.
because I'm really focusing on getting the message of the first two out,
Okay.
doing, as many shows as I can, just to really, because if you read the first either of the books and you like it, there's so much more that you can find, if they come to you for more information or they come to me through my website,
Would you
you
want to
know,
mention it? Mention it on here?
it's raycatania.com, and you can find out more information on the books, and you can pretty much buy them in any store. And I also have classes and coaching and things of that nature.
Beautiful.
So yeah,
I'll put a
uh,
link at the bottom
thank
for you.
thank you for letting me say that. Thank you.
Sure. Oh,
um
that's what we're here to do. Share, 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 right?
but I'll
Um,
get the third book done
definitely
eventually.
next topic I already mentioned. Do you remember what I mentioned at the beginning?
You mentioned a couple things at the beginning.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla.
Nikola Tesla, oh my god, all
Frequency,
right, energy, frequency, and
manifestation.
vibration.
Oh, that's what I'm, as you can see, there's my Healy, same thing,
Mm.
all about that, tapping into the information field. And anyway, we won't start that because then we'll just keep on
Okay, okay,
going.
okay, because you
We'll
just got me
start,
excited. I was like,
yeah,
yeah, let's
I
go.
know. We'll save that for another conversation
Okay.
on Spirit Chat. And again, Ray, thank you so much for coming on here, being the beautiful
Yep.
human that you are. Like
Thank you.
you're just a blessing. So I'm just going to end the recording there, and then if you could just stay on with me, that would be great. So
Sure.
thank you again, Ray. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.